Welcome to the Spiritual Principles Made Practical podcast. I'm your host, Scott Friedman, and today we're going to be digging into the eternal present. So, one of the things that is central for me is the growth that I need to accomplish. And for me, that means being one with all things. And part of being one with all things is to be in the eternal present. And there are some things about uh, focusing on the eternal present that are really empowering. So one of which is that I create the entire universe and my world down from the most minute things like the car that I drive to the most all-encompassing things like every universe that exists, every dimension that exists and everything in between people and thoughts and will and being and accept all of it, right? It being one with all that exists. And uh, so to make progress in accepting that I am one with all that exists is to be focused on the cause of everything good in my life, right? Because that's where all of the joy comes. That's where all the power comes. That's where all the creativity is included in. Everything's included in that. There isn't anything that isn't included in that. And one of the things that I've been, thought about this morning in my meditation was the fact that, because I create the entire universe in the present moment, that I can change my thinking about what my life is, right? And what my circumstances are. And in an earlier podcast, I think I shared a dream where I knew that I could wake up in a different reality if I wanted to. And I want to, and so part of being present facilitates that because it embraces the concept that I create the entire universe in the present moment and I can create whatever I want in the present moment. So the my friends, right, when I tell them about this, they says, well, what about time? What about, you have an appointment, right? It's at a certain time, and obviously time doesn't exist when we're focused in the present moment. And so he said, well, how does that all work if the present moment's all that exists? And my response was, the future and the past only exist in our mind in the present moment. So in the present moment, I'm thinking about the past, or in the present moment, I'm thinking about the concept of a future. But the actual concept and thought only takes place in the present. See if I can find a way to say that better. The I could be in the I'm in, when I'm thinking about the future. I'm thinking about the future in the present moment. The actual thinking of the future occurs in the present moment, nowhere else. So it's been, so understanding that gives me more power and control and belief and the ability that I could create whatever world or universe I want right here, right now, in this present instant. Now, obviously, or maybe not obviously, but obviously to me, well, intellectually and even emotionally to some extent, I know that that's true. But there's a big part of me that goes like, yeah, I don't think so. and thinks that that's just, crazy talk. So it's healing the part of me that thinks that that's crazy talk is done by me just accepting what's true. And so that's and what's true is I believe it, but I have conflict about it. And so there it is. And but nevertheless, by even doing this little bit of talking about my belief that the present moment is the only moment that exists, and I create everything that exists in the present moment, and sort of feeling like, okay, I said that. How do I feel about that? How much do I relate to that? And it's like, I feel comfortable with that. I don't feel that I have a mastery over it. But one of the things that is happening is that I'm finding myself when I'm thinking about past and future, I'm finding myself being more aware that, oh, I'm creating this idea of a past and a future with my mind in the present moment. Okay, that's what I'm doing. And so that bit of awareness and understanding uh, is growth that's occurring through acceptance. And so I'm making headway towards being one with all things, which is, or being conscious. I already am one with all things, but being conscious and accepting of being one with all things is my sort of percentage acceptance of that is going up as I record this podcast and as I focus on that. And so it's, I like to think that sometimes in terms of percentages, in that, uh, if I want something to work, then every step that I take in the direction of making it work raises the percentage chances that it will work. And so this is in this context, I'm focusing on accepting where I am relative to accepting being in the living in the eternal present, and that being the only thing that exists is the eternal present. And so by sharing that and thinking about that and what's happening is that my percentage chances of that being my dominant thinking, if you will, and relating to it more fully, uh, my percentage chances of that keep going up as I share about this. So um, that's my plan, right? It's like, my example in a previous podcast of, when I bought a house, there were steps, right? I had to find a house that was for sale. I had to write a purchase offer. I had to, I had to do counter offers. I had to apply for a loan. I had to get movers. I mean, there were steps. And that's my model. So there are steps for me uh, being conscious of the fact that I live in the eternal present and that I can create whatever I choose to with my will in the eternal present in the current instant. And the more that I dig into that and think about that and work on accepting that, the more it grows in my reality, and the higher percentage chances there are of me having that become my dominant experience of being. And so that's my plan, and I'm sticking to it. And of course, the circling back, the best part of it is that when I'm recording this podcast, right, and I'm talking about you, I feel uplifted, I feel energized, I feel enthusiastic. And that really is the ultimate goal, is to feel that upliftment, that joy, that enthusiasm. So I've already, in a sense, achieved the most important goal to me, which is that experience of uplifting joy. And that's something that I experience every time I take a step forward, right? So I know I'm taking a step forward because I feel inspired, I feel uplifted, and this is good, and I'm happy about it. And that is the best part of life, right? That's the best part of existing. And so I'm experiencing the best part of being while I'm in the process of moving my mind towards being open to further experience the best aspects of being. So yeah, I get that it makes that it seems crazy and stuff, but how I feel is not crazy, right? How I feel is how I feel, right? And I enjoy it, and that's awesome. So guess what? As long as I keep going, I'm gonna keep doing these podcasts and keep doing what I did this morning, right? Which is I meditate and I listen to what I get in meditation. And this morning, like most, not all mornings, I got that, the thing to do is to record a podcast, and this is the title, and you just get started and just let it flow from there. Let it rip, see what happens. So that's really working for me, right? And as I'm very fond of saying, if it works, don't fix it. Whatever works for you, uh, you know, let it keep working for you as long as it works for you, right? And it doesn't matter if you're the only person it works for that way. Who cares? As long as it works for you, do that. And that's what I do in my coaching, right? Is I help people identify what's working for them so that they can consciously do more of it. And recording and meditating and recording these podcasts, it totally works for me. So I'm sticking with it until I find something better, and I haven't found anything better in a long time. So I'm probably here to stay, but we'll see. We'll see. Like I say, that if I found a way to feel more alive, to feel more uplifted, even greater joy, man, I'd chuck whatever I needed to chuck to go there, right? So that's what's really the key, right? That's the transcendent experience through all of our experiences is that when we feel uplifting joy and just boundless energy and just in the present moment happy, then we know that we're on our track, we're doing the right thing, and all we need to do is just focus on doing more of that gives us that experience. So in my coaching, I help people identify that. I mean, I had this one lady, right? And she just had this horrible pain, couldn't work, anything. And she tells me about it. I said, well, tell me about your week. How'd it go? And she says, oh, well, I got to go with my family. I love my family. We have a big family. And I was talking to my uncle, and I was just having the greatest time. And I said, uh, while you were doing that, did you have any pain? And she said, no, I didn't. And I said, see, so you're in the present, you're in the present moment with people you love, and there's no pain. So do as much of that as you can. And so, but she never really connected those dots, right? And so that's a lot of what I do in my coaching is I help people identify what's really working for them. And trust me, if you're alive, something's working for you. There is something in there. And anyway, if that's of interest to you, you can contact me at scottfriedman40@gmail.com, and we'll figure out whether or not we're a match, whether or not we're speaking the same language. And if we are, then rock and roll. We'll make life better for us both. That's SCOTTFRIEDMAN40@gmail.com. I also am looking for people that want to share their win-win experiences, right? Because the more that we focus focus on acknowledging that we created a win-win experience for ourselves and how uplifting it was, the more able we are to identify those experiences and uh, do more win-win, which lifts everybody up. And who doesn't want to do that, right? So if you have that, contact me at that same email address, and we'll do a podcast about it, and we'll strengthen your ability to identify win-win, my ability to identify win-win, and we'll inspire other people to claim their abilities to find win-win and implement it. So it's everybody wins, right? And so I'm looking forward to hearing from you on that score. And then, in addition, my books are available on Amazon. You can find links to those books on my website, which is www.thoughtcoachingbyscott.com. And remember, all of the joy and wonder and enthusiasm and all the great stuff only happens in the present moment. So be present and allow yourself to experience the joy and the upliftment that you are. Okay, be well.